Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mngoni Mkonto. The slave's idea of freedom can never be real freedom. Today, I want to talk about why did white people end slavery. The reason I want to talk about why did white people end slavery, it's a series. I think I will talk about why did they end slavery, and why did they end colonialism, and why did they end apartheid, because all of this is linked, and the way they do it is the same way. So I want to talk about it so that people can be aware of what happened. One of the things that we do here is to actually correct history for black people so that black people are aware of the real history, of the real series of events, what happened. Uh, there were anti-slavery movements from the start of the slavery time or age. From the start of the slave age, uh, people who were against slavery um, started to get together to fight against slavery. But what actually ended slavery, it's not what white people tell black people, that it was a victory of the anti-slavery movements that made the white people decide to stop enslaving black people. And in actual fact, I want to argue that slavery have never ended. That is the end of the video where I want to talk about that, to show you that slavery has never ended. So what actually happened is black people were taken as slaves in their millions into Europe and into America. Anyone who was trying to rise against slavery, they would happily kill you. There was no problem with it. They wouldn't get arrested. There was no problem. So yeah, we can't say the anti-slavery movement have contributed uh, to free slaves. They have never contributed anything to free the slaves, but they were given um, uh, the victory was given to the anti-slavery movements. The white people, when black people started to be their slaves, the white people started to give every little job to the slaves. All the jobs that they had in their homes, all the jobs they had in their companies, all the jobs they had in their gardens, everything. They had slaves. They used to buy black people um, in the market and go and use them just like cars, or so they wouldn't stop using us like that, uh, uh, because it was nice, it was good, and it was making them prosper because black people were working very hard. So what was the problem? When the problem came when the white people or the white elite realized that the slaves were getting very clever. The slaves were almost discovering uh, things in science to improve work. The slaves were uh, the captain. Basically, the slaves were becoming captains of industry. The slaves were taking over the economic industry of Europe, and the slaves were taking over the economic industry of America because every job was done by the slaves. And I want to talk to the issue that where does the issue of these people are coming here to take our job. It comes from that point. It started when the white people realized that the slaves uh, have taken all of their children's jobs and their children are becoming stupid. Their children were just sitting at home, doing nothing and becoming stupid. Black people were becoming stronger and more knowledgeable because they were doing everything. So when the white people realize that black people are going to give us problems now, because once the slaves realize that he actually controls the economy, it's going to be a problem. So the white people came up with a plan to deal with the power of the slave, because the slave was now growing power without him realizing that he has become very powerful in those economies. He was powerful. The slaves were very powerful in those economies. Basically, the rest of the economy was dependent on the slaves. America was built by the slaves. Europe was built by the slaves. All the economy was fully dependent on the slaves. So they came up with a plan. The plan was to uh, start compensating the slave to allow the white child to become a slave as well. The white people decided, because they realized that their children have become stupid and the slaves have become clever because their involvement in slavery work. So because of their involvement in working every day and they're very clever, the white child who had no idea what to do any type of job, they wanted to allow him to become a slave so that he can learn how to do the work. But in a way, the white child must supervise the slaves. So the strategy was to start compensating the slaves, because now there's white people who are involved in slavery. There's white children who will be involved in slavery. And they changed the name of the slaves and called them workers, supervised by white people. If you look around, that is what is happening even today. All the industries, all the powerful factories are controlled by the supervisors are white, and which are the white slaves, the children of slaves masters who were allowed to become slaves in order to monitor the black slaves and to make sure they supervise they take the credit of the black slave, because when the black slaves get discoveries, one of the things that happened during those years is black people have discovered a lot of things during the time when they were slaves, but it couldn't be attributed to them. So the white children are the one who took credit for the discoveries of the slaves. Many of the discoveries that happened in the 1800, from in the 1700 to basically, let's say many of the discoveries from the 1400s to about the 1800s, slavery was ended in officially in the US in 1865 by Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, that's what politics does. Abraham Lincoln, when he was approved to become president by the deep state, they told him that he must end slavery. He must say, he must declare the end of slavery and start compensating slaves. The reason they wanted to start compensating slaves, it's for the fact that their children have also to become slaves so that their children cannot be stupid and their children cannot continue to idle in their homes without doing anything. Because in the future, the slaves are going to lead their children. So that was the fear. Today, those slaves are called workers, supervised by the white CEO. So the slavery have never ended. I thank you for listening.